There is nothing quite as wholesome as a good comeback story, and the Sonic movie, man, if it didn't make a hell of a comeback. I can only imagine how things would have panned out if they would have shipped the movie with the original Sonic design, with the original launch date. I truly do believe that the movie wouldn't have made nearly as much money as it did, broken the records that it did. But now, looking at websites like Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes, you can see that, sure, critic reviews are somewhat mixed, but audiences are loving it with an 85% Metacritic user score and a 94% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. And how much people are genuinely enjoying this movie and spreading positive word of mouth is reflected in the sales numbers for Sonic the Hedgehog. Not that long ago, I did talk about the fact that the Sonic movie had the best opening weekend ever for a video game adaptation, opening to $57 million in 3 days during its opening weekend, which actually surpassed Detective Pikachu's $54.3 million. We're talking about Pokemon here that Sonic beat, okay? For the first time in a long time, Sega actually did what Nintendo don't. Not to say that Pokemon Detective Pikachu's numbers were a slouch, but just beating Pokemon at anything is no easy feat. So this is pretty impressive stuff. Now, in my first video, I talked about Sonic movie's 3-day opening, and then there was speculation as to what the 4-day opening numbers might be, and turns out that also surpassed expectations. The headline of this Box Office Mojo article reads, Sonic the Hedgehog races to record video game opening, potentially reaching $70 million 4-day debut. Now, not only did the Sonic movie have the best video game to movie adaptation opening, the Sonic movie also ended up being the 4th best President's Weekend debut. So just all around, this movie is exceeding expectations and doing really well for itself. Now, with any movie, while opening numbers are super important, another key factor is, of course, the movie's ability to maintain strong numbers in the weeks following its debut. And on that front, the Sonic movie is also doing really well. So here is an article from news outlet GameSpot that highlighted this. The headline reads, following its record-breaking start, the Sonic movie has crossed a new box office milestone. So during the second weekend in the US, the Sonic movie managed to make $26.3 million. And what that amounts to is a total domestic box office tally of $106.6 million. And on top of the US numbers, there's, of course, international numbers to consider. And as far as how the Sonic movie performed outside the US, it reads right here, quote, another $38.3 million was earned from international markets this weekend. So this is the second weekend we're talking about. And what that means is that if you take all of those numbers and combine them, the worldwide revenue so far for the Sonic movie is more than $200 million. Hot damn. As I mentioned in my previous video, the Sonic movie is estimated to have cost $87 million to produce before marketing. So with that $200 million made in 2 weeks, the movie's already making its money back. And while I don't know how much the marketing for Sonic movie cost, if the Sonic movie can maintain healthy numbers throughout the following few weeks, then it's in a good place. Those who've watched the movie will know that there is definitely a setup for a sequel, and that sequel is only going to happen if Sonic ends up performing adequately enough. And I think from the looks of things, it's safe to say that the Sonic movie will definitely garner a sequel, and that sequel could end up performing even better than this movie, given that this movie has established the Sonic movie IP now and has gotten all this positive reception. Those numbers can only grow from here if they handle this franchise correctly. As for how the Sonic movie fared in its second weekend compared to, say, Detective Pikachu, well, domestically, the Sonic movie actually is still surpassing Detective Pikachu. If we look at Detective Pikachu numbers right here, you can see that on day 3, it made $54 million, which is lower than the Sonic movie's 3-day $57 million. And then on its fourth day, it was estimated that the movie made $58 million, which is lower than the $70 million that the Sonic movie made in its 4-day debut. Now, Detective Pikachu did maintain healthy numbers up until the second weekend, so by next Sunday, the movie had brought in $94 million, but that is still less than the Sonic movie's $106 million from its second weekend. But when it comes to worldwide, we do have a different story. We can read right here, based on this article by Anime News Network, that during its second weekend, Detective Pikachu made a grand total of $287.4 million worldwide, and that is a significant amount more than the numbers reported for the Sonic movie, which is more than $200 million worldwide. I guess that's not terribly surprising. Pokemon as a worldwide franchise is certainly bigger than Sonic. It's frickin' Pokemon we're talking about. The one factor to consider is the fact that the Sonic movie has been delayed in China due to the coronavirus, and that's certainly gonna impact the worldwide revenue of this movie. According to this Forbes article, due to the delay, the Sonic movie is likely to make $335 million worldwide by the end, putting it between Prince of Persia and Angry Birds as far as video game to movie adaptations go. So that's behind Detective Pikachu's $431 million and Warcraft's $439 million. Forbes noted right here that, quote, the difference between fifth and first place could come down to that just delayed China release date. So who knows, maybe without that delay, the Sonic movie could have been able to perform neck on neck with Detective Pikachu, maybe surpassed it, and at the very least been closer to the numbers that Detective Pikachu did within the same time period. It's hard to say at this point, and we'll see how Sonic movie fares in China once it does come out in that region, in that huge market, but the delay could certainly have an adverse impact on potential sales, and so that's why the Sonic movie numbers might be lower than they could be. But just the Sonic movie's ability to maintain healthy numbers and keep pace with a franchise as big as Pokemon, given that Sonic video games have kind of been on a downwards trend as of late, to see the movie do well enough is good to see. It makes me happy that the decision to redesign Sonic and to listen to fan feedback was ultimately rewarded with people going, you know what, I'll give this movie a chance. And then beyond that, I think the movie ended up being above average. I thought it was just going to be meh, but it exceeded my expectations. Not the best movie in the world or anything, but it was just good old fun, good comfort food for a night as far as movies go. And generally, from what I've heard, many others feel the same. The worst criticism I've seen for it is that it's pretty basic and kind of generic maybe, and you know, that's those people's opinions to have. But for the most part, I mean, you can see on Metacritic and on Rotten Tomatoes, and just in terms of the social media reception I've seen, most people seem to have had a thoroughly good time with it. At the end of the day, I'm really happy for movies like Detective Pikachu and Sonic the Hedgehog, which stay true to the source material. They are faithful enough to what people have grown up with, you know, when it comes to playing these games, while also adding their own twist to it and telling their own unique story and giving the characters, and in the case of these two movies, the creatures, a kind of heart and personality that makes them endearing. You know, Ryan Reynolds' Detective Pikachu performance and Ben Schwartz's Sonic performance both were endearing, and you kind of rooted for the characters, and having those creatures be likable and having them have a story where you actually feel somewhat emotionally invested, that's important. While the stories of both of these movies aren't perfect, they can feel generic at times, a little basic maybe, they set a solid foundation for things to come. No doubt there's going to be a Detective Pikachu 2. No doubt there's going to be a Sonic 2, especially with that post-credit tease. If they can solidly build upon this foundation and tell deeper stories and delve deeper into these characters and have stronger character arcs, then they could pave the road for a series of movies in these universes that are, you know, well executed, which is rare when it comes to video game to movie adaptations. It feels like that type of movie is seeing a resurgence with movies like Detective Pikachu and Sonic, and hopefully we'll see others who do attempt something like this honoring the source material and seeing how important that is for audiences, because a lot of the people who go watch this will be the gamers, the people who are very much familiar with these IPs, the characters, the franchise, the universe, and are invested in it based on their time with them through video games. It's got to be a healthy balance of honoring the memory and spirit and soul of that franchise while also adding their own spin to it just enough so it doesn't just feel like a retread of what's already there, but they're telling new and compelling stories. But anyway, I'm rambling on at this point. Bottom line is, Sonic movie doing pretty freaking good, breaking records here and there, and it's a movie that absolutely deserves it. The decision makers ultimately cared enough about it to delay the movie and get the design right, and the fact that that was ultimately rewarded brings me joy, and I'm happy for everyone involved in this movie, and I'm glad that this movie exists, that it turned out as good as it did. Looking forward to the sequel, but that's probably ways off. In the meantime, though, let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on the movie itself and its current performance, and what your hopes are for the sequel. Drop a comment below, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.